You would think that earning a six-figure salary would be the golden ticket to financial freedom, right? But what if I told you that for a huge number of high earners, it actually feels more like running on a much faster hamster wheel? Today, we're going to break down the surprising psychology and the hard numbers behind why so many people with big paychecks still feel totally broke.
It's a question that really stumps a lot of us. I mean, the income is clearly there, but that feeling of financial security just isn't. So, what is really going on here? Let's dig in and unpack the real issues that keep so many high earners stuck in this incredibly stressful cycle. And this leads us right into what you could call the high earner paradox. You see, the heart of the issue isn't always about the numbers on a paycheck. It's really about the mindset and the habits that come along with it. As it turns out, more money can absolutely mean more and more complex problems.
This quote right here, it just perfectly nails the central psychological trap. There's this massive difference between income and actual wealth. We get this temporary rush, this high from spending, which creates the feeling of being rich. But it's the stuff you hold on to, the money you don't spend, that actually builds real long-term wealth. And the scale of this problem is just staggering. Get this. 62% of people earning over $300,000 a year are struggling with credit card debt. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't a low-income problem, it's a cash flow management problem, and it can affect literally anyone.
In fact, there's even a name for this group, ENREs. It stands for High Earners, Not Rich Yet. And these are often people with demanding jobs, maybe some hefty student loans, new mortgages, and they find that their high income gets completely eaten up by high expenses. It just leaves very little room to actually build any wealth.
So understanding the psychology is absolutely key here. High earners often fall into a few common traps. First, there's lifestyle inflation, where your spending just magically rises to meet your new income. Then there's the social pressure to keep up appearances. And a big one is the arrival fallacy, that mistaken belief that once you hit a certain salary, poof, all your money problems will just disappear. Of course, they never do.
And look, this isn't just some theoretical issue. This kind of financial instability has a real, measurable cost. It eats up our time, tanks our productivity, and really impacts our overall well-being. Just take a look at this data from a Vanguard study. People who don't have emergency savings spend on average 7.3 hours a week just thinking about or dealing with their finances. For those who have that cushion, it's only 3.7 hours. That's nearly double the mental energy spent just worrying about money. And of course, that stress follows you to work. The very same study found that workers without emergency savings are distracted for over 6 hours a week. That is 4 times more than their coworkers who have savings. This isn't just a personal problem, it's a huge drain on productivity. But here's the good news in all of this. The solution doesn't require winning the lottery. The research shows that having just $2,000 emergency savings is linked to a 21% higher level of financial well-being. It's a relatively small number with a massive psychological payoff. It's that feeling of having a safety net. So if the problem is so complex, could there possibly be a simple solution? Well, one academic paper proposes a surprisingly straightforward framework that could help create that stability and finally break the cycle. It's called the 1/3 financial rule, and the idea is incredibly simple. You just take your after-tax income and divide it into 3 equal buckets. 1/3 goes to paying down debt, 1/3 goes into savings and investments, and last third is for all your living expenses. Simple as that. The real power of this rule is its balance. See, each slice of the pie gets equal attention. It forces you to prioritize aggressive debt repayment and savings right alongside your current lifestyle. It stops one area from completely taking over the others. Now, you might already be familiar with the 50-30-20 rule. What's really interesting here is the difference in focus. The 50-30-20 rule gives just 20% to savings and debt combined. For high earners who also have high debt, like from student loans or a mortgage, the 1/3 rule's much more aggressive 33.3% for debt repayment can be a way faster path to financial freedom. But okay, the big question is, does this simple rule actually work in the real world? Let's take a look at the data from the study that put it to the test. So researchers ran these simulations based on U.S. Census data. And for a dual-income household, for example, just sticking to the 1/3 rule could get rid of $120,000 in debt in just 4 years. And at the same time, they'd build over $160,000 in savings. The numbers really prove that this structured approach can lead to some dramatic results.
And this is where it all connects. The savings part of the one-third rule directly builds that emergency fund we were talking about earlier. You know, the one that Vanguard's data proved is the key to cutting financial stress and boosting that feeling of well-being. It's a straight line from a disciplined strategy to real psychological relief.
Of course, a rule is only as good as your ability to actually follow it. This isn't just about spreadsheets, it's about changing your entire mindset. So how do you even start? Financial coaches suggest a few key mental steps. First up, acknowledge your patterns and do it without shame. Second, accept where you are right now. Third, commit to showing up for your financial goals consistently. And finally, practice gratitude. Shifting your focus from what you lack to what you have can fundamentally change your entire relationship with money. And this brings us completely full circle. Remember that feeling of wealth we talked about at the very beginning? Turns out it doesn't come from a bigger paycheck or a flashier car. As this quote suggests, the true feeling of being rich often comes from security, from knowing you have a cushion that gives you freedom and control. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. We spend so much time chasing a specific number in our bank account, but maybe true wealth isn't a destination at all. Maybe it's just the freedom to finally stop running on that hamster wheel.